All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to what I hope is going to be a fantastic event with our guest, poet J.P. Howard. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Monique Ngozi Mbe. I am a poet and a writer. I'm also a faculty member here at Brooklyn College and a number of Brooklyn College and a staff member of Brooklyn College. So I'm Brooklyn College 360. I just want to, I wrote some notes because this is really an amazing event for me. It represents a special event in this house for J.P. Howard. I want to say that this is this gathering is a crossroads of many events, but in particular, in a couple of weeks ago, Barbara Smith was here, and she has been, as many of you know, certainly an influence in my life as a freedom fighter, and she goes about her freedom fighting with fierce laughter and joy, and I think that JP is in that tradition, and she really speaks about the fact that we need to continue to fight for freedom, but to do it in a way that brings together people across many different alliances. And then Shirley Chisholm is also lodged at Brooklyn College, and she was one of the first Black people to run for president in this country. She's also half Bajan, which I'm half Bajan, so that's good. You know, she was an amazing organizer, and I think one of the things that Black women who do this work carry with them is the ability to organize, and that's a quality that J.P. Howard also has. I myself went back to school in the fall of 1919 to 1990, no. The fall of, yeah, no, not 1990. The fall of 2019 to get my MFA in poetry and creative writing. Of course, I did one semester and then the pandemic. So, but I want to say that during that time, I was reaching out to many people to try to find the community for the poetry that I was writing, right? Which is really based in a tradition of Black women poets and writers. So my people were Jane Cortez, were, you know, Audre Lorde, were those women poets who have gone before us, who also had a tradition of kind of political activism. And I didn't find that as much as I would have liked to within the poetry program. So I was reaching out. And as I reached out, I found a number of different places. And J.P. Howard was one of the people that I was recommended to join the salon. I didn't join then. Yeah, so you know that's one opportunity to do that. I didn't join then. Then I went to the Dodge Poetry Festival just last year in 2022, and I met David Groff, yes, who's at CUNY at City College. He also recommended that I join Women in Bloom, which is this poetry salon that JP curates. I didn't make it then. Okay. And then, I mean, I tried to sign up, but I didn't actually get to any of the workshops. So then Rosamund King, who is currently the interim dean of humanities and social sciences at Brooklyn College, who is a Black woman lesbian poet, who was also a safe harbor for me during my time in the MFA. She said, J.P. Howard is the Tao poet in residence, and she's coming here, and I'm like, okay, get it together. You're gonna make it this time. So I did that. So I feel like I've been circling for many years, and now here we are. But before I hand it over to you, I just want to say that in the spirit of Audre Lorde, we are co-sponsored. Come in, Sharika. We are co-sponsored by BLMI, and I wanted it to be in this space because I want us to begin to build bridges and alliances across the different groups. And I wanted it to be an intimate space, a space that is open for poetry. It's also co-sponsored by the Women's Center. It's also co-sponsored by the LGBTQ+ Resource Center. So that's in the spirit of building alliances across. Roxanne Gay said, that we need to give Black women their accolades, that we mustn't skip over that part. So before I end, let me just give you the official bio. Okay. J.P. Howard is a Carver Carnum graduate fellow. She's the author of a book, Say Mirror, a debut poetry collection published by the Operating System, and a chaplet, Bury Your Love Poems Here. Say Mirror was a 2016 Lambda Literary Award finalist in the lesbian poetry category. JP was a featured author in Lambda Literary's LGBTQ Writers in Schools program. She's a Pushcart Prize nominee, was a finalist for Split This Rock in 2017. She's featured in the 2017 Lesbian Poetry Trading Card Series, and she was selected as a Judith Marco Emerging Writers Award Fellowship from NAMBO Literary Foundation. She curates, as I've said several times, the Women Writers in Bloom Poetry Salon, which is a forum offering all life writers, but particularly women writers at all levels, a monthly venue to come together in a positive and supportive space. The salon features a diverse array of women poets and includes a large LGBT POC membership. She's an alumna of BONA, as well as Lambda Literary membership. And we said she was a Carver Carnum fellow. Let's see. So the one thing that I have at the end, her poems have appeared everywhere, so you can find them everywhere. I add, and this is like, I was like, oh, should I say this like this? JP is also a judge. Like, so, you know what I'm saying? So she does, she's like, you know, she's like splitting between these different worlds. So I want to say we praise you. Thank you so much. And we praise your pen, and we welcome you. Praise the pen. All right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna hop over there. Well, I can if you want to. Oh, right. Well, I'll let you have to say. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction and for calling all those names that you called. And I do want to thank everyone who invited me here, the Black Lives Matter Poetry Alliance, and like you said, all of the other organizations that are co-sponsoring it. A beautiful space, so beautiful to be here, to be in community. It's been a beautiful semester so far. This is definitely sort of a highlight of it, to be able to come together. I definitely see poetry as a revolutionary act. That was one of the titles that we had for this event. And a little bit about what you said reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Pat Parker. And I do like to call the names of poets who are no longer here, but who I sort of praise and give honor to. And so Audre Lorde is one of them that you mentioned, and the other one is Pat Parker, both Black lesbian poets, activists. I call them my literary ancestors when I refer to them. And Pat Parker basically had this comment. I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but it's basically the day that we can bring all the parts of ourselves to the table, we would have what I call a revolution. And so I basically try to model my life after that, bringing all the different parts of myself, whether or not people want us to show up, right? Many times we bring different parts. It could be the Black part of me, the lesbian part of me, the mama part of me, the judge part of me. But all of those parts of myself I bring to the room, I bring to the table. Like I said, no matter whether people kind of want to hear or see those parts, I think it's important that we represent ourselves, that we, sort of, like you said, kind of give flowers to ourselves and to the community around us. So I'm so happy that you did call out Barbara Smith, who has been here, and it's been so wonderful to know that you all have been celebrating her. She's definitely someone who I see as a role model for many, many years. So I definitely appreciate that. I guess I'll start by sharing some poems. But like I said, I definitely do see poetry as a revolutionary act. It gives us a chance to can agitate, right? We can use that to agitate. We can use it as a healing tool. We can use it as a shared tool to kind of bring communities together. I feel that poetry serves so many roles, and for me, it certainly has. For me, it's been very healing. It's allowed me to connect with folks like here and larger audiences and smaller audiences. It can be really intimate. Can be a big crowd, but I feel like there's always something in poetry that that speaks to us. I'm so excited to find out that you're a poet as well. So I look forward to hearing your work. And if there are others who are here, I hope that we get a chance to hear some poems as well. So I'll start with, I talk about my sons a lot. I have two sons, and when I say sons or when I spell it in a poem, I often interchange sons, the traditional spelling, with S-U-N-S, because to me, I say they're always shining. But it is a challenge raising Black boys or young Black men in this country. And that's something that I write about, this sort of,
dear to my heart. Sometimes those fears as a mom, thinking about what happens once they walk out the door, right? Wanting the best for them, seeing the best of them, but knowing that when society sees them, they don't see the same thing, you know. My youngest son is now 18, and he had an incident just recently where he went to a local store of ours, so we go all the time. We've been going there since before he was born, and he had bought a bottle of water, walked in, and the store owner basically accused him of stealing it, and she was going to call the cops on him. Fortunately, the cashier said no, he just bought it. He bought a bottle of water. So those are the things that kind of weigh heavy on me and sometimes come out in my poems. So my first poem is called "In This House," and this was actually published in a Hyperallergic magazine. In this house, we raise our voices. We are raising up Black boys in this house. In this house, some days our voices stay raised high. Other nights, we are soft whispers. Black boys are becoming Black men in this house. In this house, Black boys blossom. Black boys bloom. Black boys cry or laugh. Black boys be brilliant in this house. This is a Black boys' house filled with love. We don't let fear into this house. We know fear intimately, but we don't let it enter these doors. This is a safe house for Black boys becoming Black men. This is a safe house for Black men who were once Black boys. This is our house, and these are our sons. And this next poem is called "Tender." It's a Black boy song, and this is dedicated to my two sons, Jordan and Nicholas. And I wrote this one during the pandemic. You can sort of you'll hear about it, you know, sort of what's happening in the poem. My two sons, and here I spell sons, you know, S-U-N-S. My two sons are light and joy and Black brilliance. Sometimes my youngest son is all teen talk back. My oldest all queer young adult swag. Together, they be Black boy magic. My sons be Black boy magic. They quote Baldwin and Lord how they still shine in America. Even when they argue, they have each other's backs. In our house, boys can cry or dye their hair the color of the rainbow. Our home is a rainbow. Our boys are a house filled with love. Our teen asked his big brother how to shave his newly grown pandemic beard. Last night, his big brother surprised him with his first beard trimmer set. Lovingly showed his younger brother how to shave for the very first time. First to wet his face, then spread the shaving cream and gently guide the blade without cutting himself. They root for each other like nobody's business. They've been marching together for pride and Black lives since they could talk. Our oldest son has no patience for his two mamas and our questions. But this past semester during a pandemic, let his little brother talk to him for hours on end by video chat about nothing and everything, at least once a week, while sheltering in 3,000 miles away onto his California campus. Some days, my mama heart bursts or breaks for Black boys. What I am trying to say is every Black boy is my son. All sons are Black boy shining. I love to write praise poems, and if you Google me, you'll see praise poems. And so this praise poems, I was very honored. It got those of you who follow poetry, the Academy of American Poets, every day they share a poem a day. So this was published in the Poem a Day. And this is the perfect time to read this poem. Now is National Poetry Month, so shout out to National Poetry Month. And for me, poets like myself and so many of my friends, we do what's called a Poem a Day during National Poetry Month. I don't know if Monique could be doing that. Yes, 30-30, exactly. So I have a group that I've been writing with. Cheryl Boyce Taylor, who's an amazing poet. She's the leader of our group and one of my best friends. And so we've been writing together probably over a decade. So this poem was dedicated to the group. So this is dedicated to my 30-30 crew. And it's called Praise Poets and Their Pens. Praise daily poems in my inbox, how they make me laugh in one stanza, then break my heart the next. Praise how poets hold on to our first loves and scent of mama, now gone. Praise how we nurture our child self, gently wrap her around stanzas. Baby girl is resilient. Praise our spunk and our sadness. Let our writing heal. At home, at work, in cafes, even in the ICU. Praise how we hold our memories up to light, gentle and cupped in palm of hands. Praise our rough and sexy poems. Sometimes that's all we need, fire in the sheets. Praise bebop and jazz, how my foot taps when I speak your poems out loud. Praise power of music and mama, who played Nancy Wilson all night long, crying behind a closed door. Praise how I wrote a new poem this week while my sick child lay on my lap, because everyone needs to heal, especially mamas. This next poem was published in Split This Rocks. It was also a poem of the week. It's called Ethery for Black Women. Black women, we be trying to hold worlds on our backs and our hearts without veil. Some days we fail at perfection. Black girl magic is a mask we pull off when night comes. Alone in our world, weight off our backs, we exhale. Alone heart, we whisper in pillows, wet with our tears, our untold secrets. We breathe without our mask. We sit still in our silence. Some nights we float on crescent moons. Black girl magic shining under stars. We gather our pieces before daylight. And this next poem I'm going to read, it's probably my most published, most republished, most requested poem that has sort of appeared. And it's in my book, Say Mirror, which I'm very proud of. It was a Lambda Literary Finalist, like Monique mentioned. And this poem, I try to offer in almost every reading to anyone in this space, in this room, who's going through a difficult time, or if you know someone in your life who is, I offer this poem to you. What to say to a friend who wants to give up? Say, I love you, even when you can't love yourself. Say, please, please, not today. Say, too much life unlived. Say, mirror. Say, beautiful. Say, this arm, take this arm. Say, grab. Say, hold. Say, let tears fall. Say, tears heal. Say, forgive your mama. Say, she did the best she could. Say, tomorrow. Say, sleep. Say, split seconds, split the seconds. Say, let the seconds turn into days. Say, today. Say, tomorrow. Say, sun. Say, warm. Say, skin. Say, warm skin. Say, sunlight. Say, new day. Say, breathe. Say, inhale. Say, exhale. Say, not today, baby girl. Say, so much life to live. Say, love. Say, I love you. Say, hold on to love. Thank you. This next poem is written after, and a lot of people know this poem, Be Real Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks. So it's written after in the style of that poem, which I love. And this is called We Beautiful Black Boys. We beautiful Black boys, we got so much poise. We look like grown men. We keep coming to an early end. We got mamas who keep mourning. We just want to see a new morning. We smart and get good grades. We keep getting so much shade. We rise early and study hard. We still got cops asking for ID cards. We wear hoodies and travel with friends. We tired of being seen through same old lens. We want history to stop rewinding, repeating. We don't want to be a part of senseless beatings. We need our brilliance to be widespread. We got no choice but to move ahead. Thank you. This poem I wrote a while back, it's still so relevant. It was for Trayvon Martin. Reverse Garland Cinquain for Trayvon. And I like to write poems, so there's a lot of repetition in here, but sometimes you can get your message across. I'm sure Monique knows that's a poet. Trayvon, I wish I didn't have to write about you in past tense. Once again, so unfair. Trayvon, your story is too familiar. We keep returning here. This pain should not recur. Trayvon, today you should be in your school. Your parents' next visit should not be your gravestone. Trayvon, until there is justice, I will wrap you in my stanzas, cradle your name, Trayvon. Trayvon, we will not forget your trip home. Beautiful sun, man, child, let us repeat your name. Trayvon, your story is so familiar. When your parents visit, let them cradle your name. This is also from my book, and this is for all the Leos who are out there listening. I'm a Leo, my mom was a Leo. And it's called, and poems can be funny too, right? When your mama is a Leo diva. And this is a list poem. I like list poems, so you can just basically take a list of things. So 1, you can't help but be a diva yourself. 2, sometimes she forgets she a mama. She never forgets she a diva. 3, she will tell you you're the most beautiful person in the room. You will believe her. 4, at 90, she's still fine and wears ruby red lipstick when she enters a room. 5, she will never forgive you for cutting your long hair nearly 25 years ago. 6, she will tell you how gorgeous every new haircut looks on you, followed by, despite the fact that you cut your beautiful long hair off decades ago. 7, she will teach you the art of self-love and self-care before you go to middle school. 8, she will not learn how to cook until you leave for college and have no regrets about serving you shake and bake all those years. 9, she will be your biggest advocate and sometimes your greatest obstacle. 10, she will love you even when you have stopped loving yourself. This is called Pride Poem, or Why I Write My Story. I write my story so a woman somewhere knows that she can love another woman and still live. I scream my story because once I too was scared of what other folks would think if they found out it was a woman's touch I craved. In a room full of strangers, I take the mic and reminisce about a woman I loved who once broke my heart because I want another woman to know I'm still here. I repeat the names folks have called me: Dyke, Bulldagger, Leslie, because those names have never defined me. Sometimes I cry when I say the names of women who were killed just for loving their reflection, like Sakia Gunn. Each night, it is a woman I come home to, and every morning I wake to sound of a woman's voice. After all these years, it is still a woman who centers me. Let's see, just a few more. People to share some poems. This one is called Bedtime Poem for America. This body is black, is blue, is you a country I won't ever trust. This country is foreign. This foreign is familiar, tastes almost like home, like mama's peach cobbler gone bad. This blue is my body, this red is my blood, this blood tastes like home. These stars sewn on black of my skin shine when night comes. I wear this tattoo for you, America. Spread your white sheets on my bed. Tomorrow, I will rip you to shreds. So this one is called If This Is My Last Poem. If this is my last poem, let it be love, let it be forgiveness, and Holy Ghost, and hell yeah, wrapped in sparkling yarn. If this is my last poem, let it be a praise poem. Fill it with hope and joy, and let it scream so loud that everybody in earshot will clap, 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 clap. If this is my last poem, stomp for the sound of my voice. Let this breath, this life, these full lips exhale. If this is my last poem, hold it gently in your hands. Hand it around. Grab hands, y'all. Fold it into an origami blue jay and let her fly away. If this is my last poem, forgive it for loving too hard or not loving hard enough, or for wanting to be loved more than it would admit. If this is my last poem, hold a mirror up to it. Say, look how beautiful you are. Say, remember your reflection. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, before we do that, I would
just kind of like to ask our audience, just like for what you think about the poems that have been shared. I know there were a lot of different poems that covering a lot of different subjects, but were there any of the poems that resonated, or any of the lines? Is there one line that you can remember that resonated with you from any of the poems? Say your name.
My name is Markencia.
Markencia.
Hi. One of the poems about the friendship of not giving up. I have a friend of mine that going through something too, and I always tell her not to give up. There was a sweater I had bought for her birthday. It says, "Dream big and never give up." And when you read that poem, it kind of relates to that too.
It's beautiful, yes. And I wrote that for a very, very close friend. Who was very depressed, and fortunately, she's still here. She's still dealing with her depression. It's an ongoing, issue. But that's nice to hear that. And I was basically saying here, just try to encourage her. She's getting better, and that helps. So whatever we can for our friends and loved ones, try to be there for them, right?
Because when you say baby girl, I'm like, I always say that too.
Yes, exactly.
Because I'm like, don't worry, you got this. Like, we always stand for each other. I always keep on tab, always check up on her.
Absolutely.
I just make sure I encourage her so she doesn't fall apart.
That's beautiful. Exactly. That's what we do as friends, right?
Yes.
We were there for baby girl, Yeah. And sometimes the person could be old enough, but to us, we could still say that, we have that familiarity. And we're allowed to kind of, call them those names, right? Yeah, that's beautiful, though. Thank you for sharing.
And I want to ask you about how that relates to a revolutionary act. What do you think? How does the maintenance of friendship across time, how does that relate to poetry as a revolutionary?
I think it's crucial, right? Because especially in this time and age, right? There's so many things we're dealing with. It's sometimes hard or a challenge to kind of hold on to friendships. I've found that, so I think it is a revolutionary act to celebrate those friendships, to call them, to name them. It's really, I feel like, a blessing when we have those special friendships in our lives, because a lot of people don't, right? We might have people who we call acquaintances, but do we really have those true close friends? And when we do, I think it's important to hold on to them. And poetry is one way to celebrate it, to acknowledge it, to bring us together, then let it do that, right? So.
I was listening to something recently where it was said that happiness actually is defined by the number of long-term relationships that you have in your life. So actually, that's a more potent description. There's a happiness project that's been done for however many years, and what they found was long-term relationships are actually one of the highest indicators of happiness across time. So that's the revolutionary act. Right?
Yes, that's right.
Other folks.
Yes.
But let me get your phone.
Okay. Hi.
Can I say your name?
Hi, my name is
Hi, Angelique. Hi.
I resonated with the piece that you wrote about your writing.
Yes.
Because around that time I was in high school and I had lived in Florida with my brother.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, I don't know, I guess triggering because I was from New York. I was like, I've never seen people we've never seen that intense.
Right.
So I was like always worried about his safety.
Yes.
What if he just goes to buy something against it? Something like that.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I remember my son at the time was about 7. I remember him writing poems, about Trayvon Martin and his fear of, police and people and authorities, and just being so moved that, at such a young age, that was something that he was thinking about, that he was fearful of. Yeah. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I can see Angelique. This young brother who was just shot in the head. I don't know if you guys see. I think one of the things that happens for me as a poet is that I'm constantly assaulted by these things that are happening in the world, and there's no place to really put it or express it. Like, it's just normalized. Like, oh yeah, you wake up, this one shot, that one. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, poetry is a revolutionary act in the sense that, in the way that JP is, honoring and repeating the name of Trayvon, which is a literary technique, like an anaphora to repeat, in order to emphasize. But it is also a place for us to put our feelings. So although, both of us have gone to school to do poetry, I think any person can find a way to express what they're going through by writing it down.
And it's a thing that we don't do so much with the social media and all of that, right? We tend, like, you know, not to express ourselves in terms of like what we're really feeling inside. And I really think that poetry is a gift in that way, either by reading it or by writing it yourself. That's a way to do that. Any other students who have
It's your turn. I know.
before we go to Prof Johnson, any other students, please put your voice in the room. That's another thing, that one of the, you know, reasons for having a small group is like so that you can hear yourself speak. So put your voice in the room. It's the one line, one word of any of the poems that was read, that resonated with you, that made you go somewhere, think about something. The mothers in the room. Everybody. Janika, you have a comment, dear heart? It's like
the Trayvon poem, just I felt a lot of emotion for that poem. And I feel like that poem is important because other people can kind of get that effect as well. To understand that this is something that needs to be spoken about and it's important.
That's right. Yeah. It's important to call the names as well. It's also a way to honor those who are no longer here, don't have a voice, right? But so, you know, sort of give them voice by calling the names. Sometimes repetition has that effect.
And poetry just gives you that feeling.
Yes.
I feel like speaking it or just reading about it is not as effective as listening through emotion that she gives.
Yes.
The one line where you said,
Who are you?
My name is Emerson. And one line where you said how even if you don't love yourself, your mother will love you.
Yes.
I feel like that's probably because people go through a lot of things and it could be a lot, and they may feel like they're not right there, or they're not like, they feel like they're not enough or they're not giving up. But then like that love from somebody else, especially from your mom,
Right.
it can like have like a good effect on you. Like it can make you see different things. I feel like that could bring people out of so much things like depression and stuff like that.
Right.
It
Just
could
to know
be,
you have that person there.
yeah, it won't be like, it might not be like the full answer, but it could be like a good step in the direction.
In the right direction.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I really understand.
That's good. Thank you. I think that's true, right? You know, just to have that. You know, there's somebody in your corner, right? It could be, you know, parent, sibling, you know, someone in your life. Right.
Family can be both a very supportive thing, but also, as you said, sometimes a very oppressive thing.
That's
you know,
right.
Like we found out during the pandemic that we would like to be a close quarters. Your family, they can be wonderful and supportive, and then they can be like, get off my love. No, it's like, get away from it. So yes, but family and the love between and the recognition is another form of revolutionary act, and it's a revolutionary act for people of African descent in particular, where our families have been destroyed and where our, you know, the humanity that we bring to each other, it has been systematically, this attempt to systematically destroy that. So for us to continue to express that love is amazing. There's a couple of things on the chat, but let me go to Professor Johnson, who's been willingly waiting to speak, you know. So we don't have any privilege up in here. So
I'm just Lawrence.
You know what I'm saying?
But no, I really want to highlight the idea of celebration in poetry, and speak more so for my students, because they had an assignment this semester where they had to write a letter to their 15-year-old selves.
Oh, I love that.
And when I was reading their letters, I wasn't reading a sociology assignment. I was reading poetry.
Yes.
And I think part of my intention in that is for them to think about the distance they've traveled from age 15 to the present. And in some way, you know, give advice to that 15-year-old, but also celebrate, you know, where you are currently. And I'm going to actually highlight something that Muhammad said, because he found the assignment a little more difficult because he said, this is more literary.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
And
it's more of a challenge.
Yeah.
Literary.
But I think in that is the idea, and this is why I think poetry is powerful, because to do poetry, I think, I'm no poet, but I think to do poetry, you have to start with where you are. you have to wrestle with your identity and then go outward.
Right.
Whereas I think one of the biggest misconceptions about theory is that we're dealing with something abstract out there and we're not dealing with ourselves. And I think we have to deal with ourselves to do theory, to explain the world with us in it. And then, you know, come to terms that deals with what's inside, but also outside. And I guess I would probably struggle to say, where is the difference if that is the way in which one thinks about theorizing, but also doing poetry? You're dealing with yourself, but you're dealing with the world.
Right, you're dealing with both those things, I would say, you know, right? Dealing with yourself, expressing yourself many times, you know, but also dealing with some of these issues we were talking about today, right? You know, allows you to kind of deal with the outer world. But many times you do have to first go inside, right? And sometimes it can be uncomfortable, right? But you can make you feel uncomfortable as well. You might be dealing with topics that are, you know, taboo or off limits. You know, my book deals with, and my mom had struggled with depression, so it deals with that. And it was, you know, growing up in a Southern African American family, that was something my family did not really want me to, you know, talk about. Something that, oh, mom's doing okay now, you know. But I felt it was important to talk about it, to write about it, to open it up to, you know, discussion. And it has led to that in a lot of workshops that I've given, you know, but it's okay to write about these things. But yes, there is a level of uncomfortableness when we write about certain topics, but I think it's necessary. I don't know what you think.
Right. Audre Lorde has this essay. It's called "Poetry Is Not a Luxury."
Yes.
Which might be an interesting essay to explore in terms of this topic, because she's really talking about how the expression, being able to express what's going on with you inside, is critical in terms of your analysis of the world, in terms of women's analysis of the world, and finding solutions to problems. So that is a basis of poetry, and it is to me, it's about speaking the truth in spaces where you might not otherwise be able to speak the truth. I would concur that it's very important for us to be able to do that. Yeah. Do we have any questions or any comments in the chat that we want to people saying anything?
No comment, just a celebration emoji.
Okay.
Yeah, hand clap emoji.
All right, we'll take that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a poet who performs with a 10-piece band. I'm kind of with a band that we're kind of limited in that, but I have recently begun to perform more of my work. I say perform because I think it's kind of a performance. So as a child, I went through something called the Biafran War, so I'm gonna do a poem called Powder Day. Eye ainge wemmeri, eye ainge wemmeri, eye ainge wemmeri, umunu disike. Eye ainge wemmeri, eye ainge wemmeri, eye ainge wemmeri, umunu disike. Eye, we are going to win. My brothers and sisters were strong. Eye, we are going to win. My brothers and sisters were strong. If you've never eaten powdered egg, you will not know what I mean. If you've never wished, prayed for vultures to go away, you will not know what I mean. If you never called your father uncle because you last saw him 10 years ago when his face was creased with smiles, not with grim weariness, or scrambled across tabletops as bombs dropped and windows shattered on that military target, your home. If you've never seen a woman, an ordinary orange seller, still running as her head rolls down the street. If you've never seen that woman, an ordinary orange seller, still running as her head rolls down the street, you could not understand that liberation is fought for by a whole people, that fighting is more than words, that dying is less frightening than living control. Eye ainge wemiri, ainge wemiri, ainge wemiri, ununu disike. Ainge wemiri, ainge wemiri, ainge wemiri, ununu disike. There is a healing place, a blue light shimmering in the darkness, a diamond in the velvet of the night. Here, broken glass is mended, and tears from silver streams. There is a place, a healing place of song and silence. Okay, so that's a couple of my poems.
Powerful. Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
That last line, there's a healing place of song and silence, really resonated with me. So many of those lines, but that's something you're
Yeah. So how many people have dealt with any kind of like war situation, any kind of situation? Anybody dealt with anything like that? Any trial or tribulation? No. Nobody? Oh. Okay. Well, I that poem is important to me because as a child, I left Nigeria when I was, well, I went to live in Nigeria when I was 5 months old. My mother's Bajan, my father's Nigerian. I was born in England and I live here, so I'm what you call outer national, as they say in Jamaica, outer. So I lived in Nigeria till I was 8, and then the Civil War happened. And the Civil War was the war that I described there. So that site is actually something that is kind of in my brain from childhood. But what I kind of know is that many people who have a migrant or an immigrant experience and who come to so-called Western spaces carry with them these stories, right, which we often don't speak about. So in the same way that JP is putting that on the map, I also put that on the map to share with people that, okay, it's okay for you to like explore this childhood trauma, absolutely, and express it.
That's right. More than okay, like that's sometimes necessary, right?
Right.
You know, yeah.
Revolutionary
act, absolutely.
Right.
Revolutionary.
So when people talk about, when you hear military target,
yes,
know who's on the other end of that. When you hear that in the news, that we drop bombs on this military target, that's what it could look like on the other side.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
So, yeah, so anybody got any favorite poems, even if they're not your own poems? Anybody got a favorite poem that you like? Or a writer that you like?
My Angela, so many people get to call out, poems, but if there's anything.
I would say Sonia Sanchez.
Yes, Sonia Sanchez.
Yes. Particularly, it's not so much a particular poem, but whenever she speaks, I think she has a way of capturing reality that I think is unique to a poet.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, just her whole being, right? Her whole presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And she continues to be so powerful. She really does.
I'm trying to think. My favorite Sonia Sanchez line is, "Ain't they got no shame? Nah, they ain't got no shame." Yeah. So, yeah. So I don't know. Like, if we don't have other poems to read, maybe we can chat informally. We can pull off the form apart and share pizza and have conversations.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that might be a thing to do. Yes,
I just have a question.
Yeah.
My name's Aaron.
Okay.
So I noticed when you guys were just reciting your poems, you have like 2 different styles. I feel like yours is a little bit more sing-songy, a little bit more melancholic, and yours is just like very direct, very. So how do you guys develop your personal style when you want to perform?
How do you do? I definitely over time, I'm thinking like what if my style has changed. Probably the more poems you share, the more you write, the more sort of confident that you become. It's definitely just part of my personality when I'm sharing my poems. A lot of, like you said, is direct, depending on sort of what the topic is. But it's just definitely something that I think over time I felt sort of more comfortable being able to share that style, or maybe I don't want to say I create that style. It's kind of like you just fall into what works for you, what's comfortable for you. What about for you?
I guess I've listened to a lot of poets. The people that I mentioned, so like Jane Cortez is like one of my people, and she was a jazz. I don't even know what to call her because she wasn't a singer exactly, but she did a lot of her poetry to jazz music. So those are the people that I came up with. I came up with another group in London called African Dawn, who did a lot of poems with music. So poetry and music to me have always been like an integral part of each other. So that's the reason why. And also, if you're a poet and you beating in front of a 10-piece band, you better try to find a way to be loud and proud, because otherwise you'll be drowned out. So you know what I'm saying? So there's a style that you develop, and also it's more improvisational in some way. So you never really necessarily read the line the same, because you're always like listening to the music, and then you might do different things, like you might repeat certain points, or you might do a different rhythm based on the music, right? So it's a very different kind of presentation than
probably always changing.
It's like it's evolving.
It's evolving. Yeah, I like that. It's evolving.
Right, rather than just like a straight, up and down. It's funny for me to actually, like, now, since I've done the MFA, which I did so I could say I'm a proper poet now. Proper poet. I've been performing for like 20 years, but now I'm a proper poet. So I can say things like anaphora, which means repetition. Anyway, but the difference between poetry on the page and poetry when you perform it is also something that I've learned in the course of doing the MFA. Like, how do I put the energy that I have in my spoken poetry onto the page so that people can get it in both ways?
That's right.
Are you a writer? This is a writerly kind of question.
That's a great question. That's a great question.
No.
It's just something that I picked up, and I also, since you mentioned that, I wanted to ask. So, if someone was to recite your poem, do you? Well, I don't know if you've seen anyone say for the person. Does it kind of bother you because they're not giving the same energy that you would want when you would do it? Or does
Is that for me or
no?
One of us. I mean, I'm always glad if somebody shares my poem. I feel like I did something different out of it if I hear someone else say do one of my poems. So they might have a different inflection. There might be something else that speaks to them in the poem, so it comes out. So I'm always honored to hear it, but it will always sound different, I think, coming from someone else. It's never going to sound the same. And I don't want to, even if I'm sharing someone else's poetry, right? I don't want to mirror them. I don't want to copy them. I want to bring to it what speaks to me.
Yeah, and I think one of the beauties of poetry is that of course, you see different things than the poets themselves originally intended. One does, like people come up with all these interpretations for other people's work. The poet wasn't thinking that, because you bring yourself to the words, and therefore it's a mix between the individual who's reading and the words on the page. So it's got to be different, because it's that mix. It's like, it's not, it's never going to be like just what the words on the page. It's never going to be that. Absolutely.
Well, that's a good question too, though.
Yeah, no, I think you should write some poetry.
I know.
You've got a good ear. You've got a good ear. Yeah. Any other thoughts? I would dearly love it if everybody in the room could say at least one thing, because it's my thing. A voice. You need to put your voice in the room. Yes, Angelique.
I just wanted to say, the first piece I I could see how you were saying what you usually deal with again. I feel like the way that you recited it, it immerses you. Yeah. Within it, and you can see it visually, in your mind, it's going on. And I really liked it. And along with your second piece, I feel like I feel like they're both they're
very different, but like you still, I don't know, like the imagery is like really good. I feel you're really good. It's like, I just want to compliment you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. My sister here, I'm connecting you with my eyes, so like, please.
Can you say something?
Make you the speaker.
Okay.
What's your name?
Amber, I'm
Amber.
from the Women's Center. I work
Okay.
there. So I'm like still like on your mom, the poem about your mom, whatever.
Yes.
And this is gonna come up like crazy. Hopefully no one thinks it's crazy. But my mom just passed away. So like anytime I hear something about a mom, I kinda, I don't know if trigger is the right word,
Yes.
but I kinda get like super triggered. I'm like I wasn't expecting to hear about like a mother or anything.
Yes.
So like not that I checked out, but like I kind of checked out because I'm like, yeah, like because then you mentioned like your mom being your biggest supporter, and I'm like, yeah, that was my mom.
Yes.
Like, as much as me and my, and then like being your biggest obstacle, like me and my mom used to butt heads. Like
Yes.
I'm her youngest daughter, 3 kids,
Right.
like, and she's a very Caribbean like immigrant mother, and I'm like that typical American immigrant daughter. So it's like we would butt heads all the time, and then she was still like my biggest advocate and like everything.
Yes.
And especially against like my father and everything, who's like a traditional Haitian man. So it's just like I was just thinking about that. So like after every poem, I'm still there, like thinking about the mom and like trying not to like get teary eyed. So like yeah, I was not expecting to hear a poem about like mom or anything. So like I don't have much to say because I'm still like 7 poems behind.
Yes. I understand.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Yeah. And I can completely relate to that. My mom was alive when I wrote the book, and so she loved it. And, even though it goes into complications of our relationship, but she's passed away now. It's over 6 years. And when I first started to read those poems after she passed away, it was, it was much more difficult, right? So I can absolutely, sort of understand that. It's like,
It's very interesting because the one other theme that we share is writing about our moms. And I have a poem called Mom on the Porch with Me. My mom actually passed away on the day of my thesis reading, on Mother's Day, 2021, as I was about to do my thesis reading. So you can imagine, like, I had chosen all my mom poems to do, and I actually, somehow I did it, and then I collapsed. And I collapsed, like, immediately thereafter. But, yeah, so the one other poem I was going to share was about my mom. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, but I'm just saying, that was one, in looking at your poems, I was like, oh, we have this commonality in terms of the theme of writing about our mothers. Yeah. So let's see who else is in the room. Miss Jacqueline, do you want to say a quick something? You got anything to share with the people?
Not really, but both of you projected really well. I would say your theme about your sons is very nurturing. The sense of just enlightening the world, like how to view young Black men and boys, and hopefully gives perspective on like how to just navigate, how they should navigate and see themselves. And I'm a Leo as well.
Okay, awesome. All right.
That's a Leo. That poem about it, and I wonder if, like, my daughter feels some of those, she's on 9 years old.
Right.
You are like a big supporter of your family and friends. You kind of hold everything on your back.
Right. Yes,
But you want to like be out in the world and still be creative in the sense. Monique is always, I've witnessed her perform with her band before, so it's always interesting to hear her vibe and how she, puts a spin to her poetry. So very well done for everyone.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much.
So who else we got in the room? Mohammed and Miss Sister here, and Tammy.
I need to leave.
Okay.
I want to thank you both, and I want to say just a short thing before I go, which is I always say I don't understand poetry. I can't read poetry. I don't understand it, and I think it is really kind of a theme that is in this room is reading it and what you're bringing to it versus hearing it.
Right.
And I just want to really thank you both for sharing your poetry because
you know, it forces you to have these feelings, right? And like I have a complicated relationship with my mother, right?
Yes, okay.
And, you know,
Yes.
as part of like what Lawrence was saying with like you have to deal with yourself, and I'm like, I know why I don't read the poetry because I don't want to deal with that. But it made me feel it, and I just want to thank you, Monique, also for organizing, and
Yes.
Lawrence for organizing this event. I think it's really special, and I'm sorry I
Oh,
need
no,
to go.
thank
but
you. I'm glad you were able to come for a little bit.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
And Lawrence, can you take a picture of the group and keep
Yes.
up consent to having a picture taken, because we've been documenting JP's visit. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, let me just get a word in the room from my
Okay.
three other people, Mohammed
right.
and my sister here. Mohammed, you a word.
Sure. I can say that I really enjoyed your poetry, both of you, but and as far as the words were very simple and easy to connect with, because poetry especially can get really tough to understand sometimes, I feel like. And that is also part of like a natural part of poetry itself because of how intimate, how personal it can be. So that's understandable, but I like that you were able to like put most of your poems in such simple words, and I really appreciate that. I'd never probably encountered a mixture of poetry and music, sort of the way that you did it in the very beginning. It was really nice. It was very refreshing. I like that. On top of that, I feel like these days, I just for the pace that I'm living at, with like school and work and everything, I thought that I wouldn't be able to really enjoy, and not just poetry, but like literature, films, all of that. I just haven't really had any sort of contact with, unfortunately, and I really do enjoy those things. No, but I really enjoyed this event. It's
Oh,
really nice.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm glad I came.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, my sister here.
My name is Kalsum Fatma.
Hi.
And I like
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I think like thank you for sharing that. It was nice. I think like when you listen the poetry or read, you have your own meaning. Like sometimes you are in happy mood.
Yes, right.
sad
So many
mood.
different moods can be explored. It's true.
And it has so many different words to describe it. Like other person have different opinion. That's really good. Like poetry has that meaning. You can share different meaning in one poetry.
That's right. Yes. Thank you.
And the mom one.
Yes, the mom one. I know. Like goes back to the mom home, right?
The mom one is just, I don't know, it's just something that sticks.
Yes, yes.
We
Resonates.
can relate, like everyone can relate.
Relate,
like,
right, on some level, right?
Right. I believe the mom poem just it expresses exactly what people are feeling, right?
Right.
And sometimes it's like this love-hate
Hate thing,
relationship,
right.
but it also highlights the fact that moms will always love you.
That's right. That's
Right.
right. That's about
Yeah.
that was really the message there.
Yeah,
No matter
like-
what, no matter how complicated,
Yeah.
there's a level.
And I feel like even in the darkest place that you are with your mom, when you hear that poem, you know that, you know what? Yeah, mom does love you.
That's right. Mom's all right. Mom's all right, right?
Wonderful. Did you say anything like that? You want to put your voice in the room, please?
I have a lot of different, I'll just say my name is Layla. I think like all the poems, like I was thinking of my brother. The other poem you talked about your son.
Yes.
I'm the oldest in my family, and like
So much.
my mom's a single parent, so like I end up kind of like filling in
Right.
and so I was like I got like kind of emotional during that, like really like when my brother goes out, it's like he goes to like at a point he's 15,
right,
and he's becoming like, he's on the verge of being a man,
right,
and like it's like the love is scary thought, especially for like so I was just like kind of like having this realization.
Yes, I totally understand. Absolutely. Especially at that particular age. And you have, this love for him, want him to be okay, but he still has to go out into the world, right, and live his life. So, absolutely.
You were just talking about this today, our parents group, right?
Yeah.
Letting our children go out.
Yeah.
It's like so hard. It's difficult.
It's difficult. It is, right.
But you want, when they have to live their own life.
That's right. That's right. But those feelings that we feel about it is real, right? Yeah. We still allow just kind of feel those ways of it, that anxiousness, but also.
But to bring it back to the poetry as a revolutionary act, it's like I don't know how often you get to share that, right? That concern with. And to me, it's important to know that other people are feeling exactly the same concerns. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right. That's what we're talking about, that connection, right? You can, you know, like we didn't know each other before today, but we have this connection, right? The same, you know, concern, love you have for your brothers, the same love and concern that I have for my teenage son, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that, it's amazing how we can connect us. We can come from different backgrounds, completely different, you know, cultures, whatever, but still feel that, you know, that connection to each other. So that's revolutionary.
Revolutionary act.
This, you know, space and realize that and talk about it.
So yeah, so it doesn't always have to be going out marching. You can can do a revolution, right? Just by sharing with other people.
That's right, absolutely.
So thank you. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Say again, thank you to the Women's Center time. Thank you to BLMI. I was right. This was the space to do it in.
Yes, it's a wonderful space to do it. It was really perfect.
So the Black Lives Matter Poetry Alliance, you know, we are starting back again. What we're here to do is to try to help Black folks in the MFA program, to help them, you know, like give them small scholarships, but also help to make sure that the curriculum includes people like us, you know what I'm saying, like that. So that's what we're about. You can find us on our website, which is Black Lives Matter Poetry Alliance. It's online. You can see what we're doing. They're in the LGBTQ Center, as I said, the Women's Center, you know, the Black faculty and stuff, which I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, sorry.
All right. But mentioning you now. But thank you to everyone who was a part of this.
Yeah, and
make it happen.
Most of all to you, Jake.
Thank you. It was beautiful to the big community, everyone. Yeah.
All right.
We have
pizza. You know, we have pizza.
Yeah. Can we take a photo together?
Yeah, let's take a photo.
Okay. Oh, we can do it. Yeah, great. Around here. Okay.
Yeah,
Wherever you tell us.
Okay. We can do it right here, folks, when we come.